Remix. 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 Remix.
Oh, yeah. Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. Right here on Black Liberation Media. In case you didn't know, I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and we are here to bring you that boom bap breakfast, but not just me. I talk about us. Let's bring you Jackie Lukman. Okay, Ruby Red. Okay, Ruby Red. I see you out here.
Morning.
Blowing the world kisses. I see you. All right. Good to see you. How you feeling this beautiful, what day is this, Wednesday?
Yes, it is. It is Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. Yes, it's Wednesday. I always have to check because I don't remember. I'm here.
Ooh. Okay. Where's your BAP partner in crime at?
She's sliding in. Just
Erica Kane sliding in.
Hey.
Oh,
that is the longest reverb. Jesus Christ.
I was working on my mixtape. I forgot to take some of the reverb.
The eternal reverb.
Yes. Miss Cage.
Cut for.
There you go. You got a cut of a car. How that car doing?
What you did with that? Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Latif. Thank you, viewers.
Thank you for making sure that it was promoted on the Remix Morning Show.
Thank you, Kamal. That's what brought me here.
Mr. Here every day to make sure that y'all can. That's cool. I don't ask for much.
Except for all the credit.
Except for every damn thing.
A little bit. Good to see you too. Coming in firing shots. Yeah. Good morning. So what's the latest, ladies? Tell me something good. Shaka would say.
Zion gets his award today.
Hey.
Yay. Wonderful.
He got it on Monday. They played the video for the whole school. And he got his award there, but the official ceremony for the county is this evening.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Okay, you got your outfit?
Of course.
It's like 2 days ago.
Months ago when they said he picked an award.
I get it. That's nice. All right. I got invited to a 50th black tie event. One of my homeboys. Yeah. I gotta get me a tux or something.
Oh. Is Men's Warehouse still in business?
Yeah, it is. It is. But I'm more of a Burlington coat factory.
I feel that.
They got tuxes. They got tuxedo shirts in there. So
yes, they do. I feel that.
I can't let all my secrets out. Be running into people in the chat room.
You just take it off the rack.
What the suit part?
The tuxedo.
Yeah, I'll probably rent that. I ain't gonna keep no tux unless I get a custom done, and I gotta really come with some fly shit. But I don't think.
Come on now, every adult man who
should have a tux,
who fashions himself some type of entrepreneur. Yeah.
I gotta tell them. I just ain't got no tux.
You have to be prepared for all contingencies, and you are moving up in your stature in the world, and you need a tux. Come on now, grow up, brother.
Damn, she put the grow up.
What they say? Level up.
Wow, now I gotta grow up. I seen you out on the town, Jackie. I seen you in your outfits. You be representing.
Yeah, Doctor, you going to sneaker balls?
I DJ sneaker balls. Yeah.
I can't
Mhm.
stand the sneaker
And
balls.
they so comfortable.
It's
Nice
listen, for the
fit.
children, I feel the way about sneaker balls the way I feel about New Balances. It is cute for the kids.
Yeah, I don't like New Balances, but I started the trend of sneakers and suits
I'm sure.
because
Of course you did. Of
I
course
needed
you
to be
did.
comfortable. I
And,
needed to be
and
comfortable.
that's not the point of a tux. That's not the point of a
No,
soiree
no,
or a gala.
no.
Comfort is not the point.
See, that's your
Fabulous.
problem.
Yeah.
That's your. That's why your feet be hurting in them
My
damn
feet
high
don't be
heels.
hurting, and if they did, I wouldn't tell you.
Okay, get your little gel inserts.
Thank you.
Fuck
Your
that.
feet don't have to hurt if you know what you do. Come.
Fuck that. Let me tell you, standing 4 hours doing like this.
Yes,
oh yeah, I'm gonna make sure I got me some more sneakers on. I started that.
And how are y'all's feet hurting? Y'all don't have heels on them shoes. How are y'all's feet hurting?
What is
What's
it,
y'all's feet hurting from?
I'm dancing 4 hours straight.
On your feet,
Yes.
on the whole flat foot,
Yeah.
even in the formal shoe.
That's why doctors wear sneakers at hospitals. I'm an ear doctor. What do you expect? That's part of the uniform.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, better start
You know,
recognizing.
so wait, hold on now, because isn't your children's mother Caribbean, and 4
Yeah.
hours is too much?
Huh?
Don't you have a West Indian? Is it your children's
Yeah.
mother?
Yeah. What about that?
And 4 hours is too much. So you ain't never been on Parkway. You ain't never did Carnival.
Oh,
You Ray.
Yeah,
and
that's
them
what.
heat.
Yeah,
Ooh,
in them
and the-
outfits. Yeah, that's wild.
and the
How they would
heat.
do that.
And
Yeah.
you complain about some.
I enjoy watching it though. I ain't gonna front.
They in
Nah.
the heels down the street with feathers on their behind, and you talking
Yeah.
about your feet hurt.
Now that's worth it. You know, they be coming out there, boy, sparkling, glimmering. Oof.
That's
Called
not
a hot
see,
flash out here, boy.
see, that was a whole different direction.
You know me. So what's the latest with BAP? Anything?
Yeah, there's a lot with BAP. There's
Okay.
town halls coming up. There's teachings coming up. There, on tomorrow, in fact, I'll put the link up later so we can share the flyer. But you'll be able to register for the location. But BAP and the AAPRP will be having a conversation with SJP and PYM on counterinsurgency. Very timely. I think this kicks off the week of action for SJP. I believe they're having things all week. And this precedes, obviously, what has just occurred in Gaza since Monday, with I think over 400 deaths reported now. But this is something that in getting folks kind of re-energized, in a sense, around the encampments, especially under the repression being faced. This is something that we are moving forward with the students. So Thursday, that'll be happening. The 28th, there will be a teaching on African women and the role of African women in fighting imperialism. So we'll be discussing that. It'll be like a circle. Our teachings are more like a kind of communal PE, where the town halls are communal conversations around how do we move things forward? What are the best ways that we do these things? Are we advocating for policy? Are we advocating for, campaigns, etc.? Where the teachings are, how are we understanding these things? What are these concepts? More like community discussion. So that'll be happening on the 28th. And then I hear BAP DC has their anti-gentrification town hall at Plymouth Church.
Yep.
And I don't know if y'all peep it, but we kind of inserting ourselves in the churches now, because for all the conversation about religion in this context of what's happening globally, what's happening domestically, and their part, what is their role, we're kind of forcing that conversation by just continuing to be in their face and having these discussions in their locations. So now we've kind of built relationships with the churches. So we are expanding these conversations because church is where the community is. And we don't necessarily need to have a belief to be able to utilize these things. And I think at this point it's partnerships, right? Because they're wanting to open their space up and invite us into these rooms, and they're wanting to kind of move their congregation in a way that they themselves know they probably can't do from the pulpit. So they're allowing for us to do it monthly.
Okay.
So that's all kicking off. So they're doing it with Plymouth, and we're doing it with Pay Memorial. So it's a little AME takeover in Maryland. That's happening slowly. But yeah.
But it's happening. I mean, and for the BAP DC event on March 29th, the very next day, because that's how that look. There's a lot of work to be done. So we don't step on each other's toes, but we sure will bookend each other's work in Baltimore and DC. What we'll be doing is talking about the link between private equity, the defense industry, and housing. So we don't just have general conversations about a thing. All of the conversations we have, whether it's internal PE, public, popular education, public political education, it doesn't matter what kind of conversations we have with people. If we are just passing out material at a demonstration, if we're doing outreach, we don't just talk about one thing. We make connections to all of the issues because they're right there. This gentrification is an imperialism issue. Poverty, domestic poverty is an imperialism issue. Domestic police repression, quite obviously, that's an imperialism. But see, that's obvious to you and me because we are on here talking about this all the time. It's not obvious to our people in our communities. So that's why we have these conversations. This is the consciousness raising, a part of it, one way to do it. But there are so many other ways to do it that we're also involved in that we don't publicize. And me being a member of the community of faith, Plymouth is my church. So I put my money where my mouth is. If I say that I know some Christians who are not like those other freaks, then I gotta put up or shut up. So I do. And that is how we roll, and how we're going to expand this collaboration with communities of faith, because as long as you come to a lot of these communities with, you don't have to respect their faith, but you don't come in with a disrespect of them because of their faith. You'd be surprised how far you get if you would just, not come in with antagonism toward folks that you don't entirely agree with, because these people have facilities that we can take advantage of. Many of them would be open to collaborating with us, or at least listening to what we have to say, because they know they don't have the language to address these issues for their congregation. But if we try to make nice, with some of the people of faith, we might be able to build a solid relationship where we can do some pretty interesting things. So that's what we're trying to do.
Can I just want to go on a little
more?
Yes. Go.
No, because I do think that this is serendipitous, right? Because you said everything is not irony. That we're talking about this because I was literally just talking with a comrade about this sort of turn online around a sort of antagonism around PE from people who deem themselves as organizers, right? So for me, I mean, also academics too, but which is, I think, is also interesting. But I think the sort of I don't know if it is anti-intellectualism or if I don't know if it's nihilism, and that people are cynics, they're just cynics now, because these things are processes, right? You're not going to walk up to somebody and say, this is what imperialism is. And then they say, oh, got it. You know what? Right. I'm going to join the revolution right now. Like, that's never, ever how it worked. It didn't work for you. It's not going to work for anyone else, right? And a lot of these things, even to my current disdain for the use of the word community, because the way that folks use it kind of obfuscates, actually, it's people who talk about community that do not talk to their neighbors, right? So because you can create community. You can create community online. You can create community based on identity. You can create community based on things that you have in common. And it's a lot more difficult to speak to the neighbor that you don't like, particularly. You know, they always parking in your spot. Oh, you know, they're annoying, but they still need it, right? Don't need it any less, the information that we're given. All of these things affect us just the same. So this whole concept of like, all we're doing is talking, I do wonder, especially as it's coming from people who deem themselves organizers, how is that even understood, right? Because yes, there is a sector of people who just get bogged down in theory and don't move beyond that. But if we understand that theory leads to praxis, right?
Now do the one for praxis.
No.
Do the one for praxis.
I was stuck on that one.
Because folks don't know what the hell that is.
Then what kind of conversations are we having? Because organizing is a science, right? And approaching is a science, right? If we're doing this thing to get this outcome, right? That is scientific. What do we need to do so that we can get this outcome? So all that we are doing in that process is leading us to the outcome or objective that we want. So if that's how we're organizing around, then yes, the PE has use. But if you're just going in there and having general conversations with folks, and then once they leave that room, you know, there's no expectation for them when they're in that space. There's no encouragement for them to mobilize beyond this. For me, it's the same conversation when people talk about preaching to the choir. Like, Jack, you know how I feel about this. Stop it. Stop saying that. These are just things that people keep saying because it's a thing to say, right? But the choir in the church, they need preaching too. We can't say that political education and we learn for the rest of our lives and all, you know, you never stop learning, and then say we preach it to the choir. Because the issue is not preaching to the choir. The issue is, what is the choir doing when they leave the church? That's the issue. If the choir is taking up the word and they praise it with you and then they walk out the church doors and they not speaking to nobody about what they just heard, that's the issue. The issue is not that the choir is there. The choir needs to be there just like everybody else needs to be there because it's a process and it never stops. So when people talk about like all this PE, it's unnecessary. It's just really, for me, it's like, well, what are you doing with your PE? Are you just having PE to have PE? Because yes, that's unnecessary.
What's PE?
Political education or popular education. Sometimes interchangeable, but they should not be.
But they should, thank you.
Yeah, but essentially, yeah, it is kind of frustrating in a sense because I do see like it's an uptick of a kind of punching left in this moment where we know, one, if it is clear to us that our people are illiterate in mass, right? They're propagandized in mass. Mm-hmm. We talk about this sort of internal colonization all of the time. Then why wouldn't we be why wouldn't we be pushing political education? Why wouldn't we be pushing dialogue? And then what conversations are you having with people? No, the expectation is not that you go and you explain imperialism to everybody based on Lenin's definition every time you see someone. But again, the issue is not them. The issue is you. What are you saying to them? How are you explaining imperialism? Because that means that you don't know what you're talking about if you can't explain it. Or you don't believe in what you're saying if you can't explain it.
But you know the dope thing about it is that you can do the comparison of movement of Jesus and marketplace and the Romans and talk about, you know, how he was politically educated in that way and was like fighting against them. So you can use that as a conversation when you're having it with them. So that's pretty dope. All right.
I mean, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. And it's weird. This whole anti-PE thing is very strange because all we're doing is talking. Well, are you in college? Because that's all they do. They talk at you all day. I mean, your kids in public school or even private school, because that's what they do. They talk at those kids all day. Yeah. So how is one form of education that is set up by the system, by the institution that propagandizes us? We got no smoke for that. We got no smoke for all y'all doing is talking in this college, but y'all giving them people 6 figures to talk at you. But then you turn it around and you are telling grassroots organizers who are trying to raise the consciousness of our people to wake us up to the contradictions of these institutions and what they're talking at us about. Oh, we can't do that. That's not useful. It's useful for you to be indoctrinated by the institutions. It's cool for them to talk at you, but you don't want us to talk at you. Just go ahead and admit that you don't want to change the system and get the hell out of our way. I don't understand. I think I don't understand why people spend so much time openly challenging people, ideas, and actions that they're not going to do anything different about. Like, these people are not going to show us a new and better way of doing any of this, because they're not going to do anything. And all they're doing is complaining about what we're doing. Like, please get a hobby, get another hobby, do something else with your life if you're not going to organize, because it's obvious organizing is not what you're going to do, but you're going to spend your time decrying organizing. To what end? And again, to that one, that's another, like, to what end kind of question that I have. Like why? What are you getting from this? Because it's not raising consciousness, and it's not benefiting anybody, not even you. So it's very weird. It's very strange.
I think it's defeatism. I think we're at a point where people have done a thing for so long in a way, and then that when it doesn't work, that it becomes, well, why are we doing this thing? But for me, that becomes the point in time where we reassess: should we be doing this way? Mm-hmm. What are the other ways we could do it? Because I have this new position. I'm talking to a lot of people all the time about certain things, and one of the things that I have been saying is, like, the issue isn't the ideas. The issue is, what are the objectives? Because if we're clear on what we're trying to do, mm-hmm. then the ideas should be suited to what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Whether you're just doing things for the sake of doing it. And that's where the frustration becomes, that we see a whole bunch of people just doing things, and we can't really understand, like, we haven't, truthfully, I mean, we could be critical about the movement. What campaigns have we won recently in the last 5 years, 6 years? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But also, if we are doing this thing the same way consistently and expecting a particular outcome, then it is on us to reassess what is it that we're doing. If this didn't work, let's try it again. Again, a science. A lot of it is trial and error.
Yep.
And a lot of it is that tortoise kind of model.
Mm-hmm.
It's that tick, 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 tick until you get it. And none of it is going to happen overnight. And some people have the stamina for it, and some people don't. And some people just kind of need that reminder that you bugging right now, but you know better. You bugging right now, but you know we can do this. You know we can win.
Mm-hmm.
And it's evolving with technology too. At the same time, you got to evolve with different ways to promote on different social medias and all types of stuff. So, got to keep it moving, man. Got to keep it moving and stay consistent. All right. So, welcome to the Remix Morning Show. Y'all about ready to get into it some more?
I suppose.
A little bit of news. All right, let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back with some more right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Let's do a remix on the remix. Y'all with that? Let's do it.
I got a plan. Some sort of strategy. Hold my calls and get in touch with ESD. Give them the message, give them a red alert. Tell them I need them, tell them it's time to work. Tell them I'm home, thinking of my profits. Going out in the world to teach knowledge to the brothers and sisters that don't know about the mother, about the right way to go. Stop them from selling out. Teach them what pride is all about. Go out and tell them it's time to take a stand. YZ is work, thinking of a master plan. I'm thinking of a master plan. YZ is thinking of a master plan.
Okay, let me take you to a time and place. Let me take you back to 1990 with the artist YZ off his album Sons of the Father. Name of that song is Thinking of a Master Plan. Big up to Heightstown, Trenton, Jersey. You know what it is. YZ. Alright, and big up to 1998 with Mr. Vegas. The name of this song is Heads High, Killin' With You Now. And the name of that song is Heads High. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare, and you can also donate at blkliberationmedia.org. We are demonetized, so therefore that will help this boat stay afloat. Alright, with that said, let's get back to the Remix Morning Crew. Now we do.
I kill them with it now. Just make a boy know you're not blow. It's I kill them with it now. Tell them to be against the soul.
Yeah. Big up to YZ. That was the first person house I went to when I came to Atlanta. Friends of my sister. She's still doing it out in Texas now.
Nice.
How's your sister, Air Doctor?
What you say?
How's your sister?
My sister's good. She's doing good. DC holding it down. She just moved into a new spot. So
Oh, nice.
big up to big sis. You know? All right. So I guess it's time for me to figure out something to do while y'all bringing the news. Peace.
Yes. What do you usually do when we're not talking to you back there?
Reading books, getting politically educated.
Oh Lord. Anyway.
Two of them.
Yeah. Which ones? I would like to know.
These are the two books specific on getting political education.
Well, I guess there's lots and lots to talk about in the news, so let's get there. Let's do it. Let's. Hey, welcome back to the Remix Morning Show. It's me, Jackie Lukman, and this is Erica Keynes, and this is Women's Wednesday, and this is the news segment. Erica, what's going on in the world today that you want to talk about?
Well, wouldn't you know, this is the one day I am not prepared with any particular links, even though I have been keeping up with the news. So much has happened. I don't know if we want to discuss Simone.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we could start off light. I don't know if anyone has heard, Jackie, if you could find an article link for reference. But apparently, well, you know what's funny? This morning, Chuck Schumer was on Morning Joe. Because of course, right? Because
yes.
The ruling class is fighting. So everyone in the Democratic Party is very upset. Well, at least what is deemed the progressives, or what they're calling a sort of generational divide. The talking points for Morning Joe was just hysterical. But they had Schumer on to respond to the criticisms from his own party around what he has just done in terms of passing that budget to avoid a government shutdown. And of course, Joe and Joe talk about, when they were both in Congress and how the Republicans played on the government shutdown, and but there was an understanding. And then Mika goes on ahead and says, well, the math is really simple, Chuck. You can see right here why you would do this move. But the Dems want Chuck gone. They want Chuck's head on a spike. They want him out of here. So with Chuck Schumer's response is, everyone is just responding primarily because, they just want us to do something, fight back. But, you have to be strategic about this. And by strategic, what Chuck is saying, they have no plan, and they are just moving along with what Trump is doing. Well, Simone, now live on air, she begins to talk about Simone Sanders Towson, previously the Bernie Sanders campaign, and then the Biden campaign, and then the Harris campaign. So now she is a pundit in Joy Reid's news slot, along with Michael Steele and this white woman. I never cared to remember her name, but she's there. But Simone, she's discussing this what's happening in the Senate, and the Senate Minority Leader, and she is going on this kind of tirade about disappointment, to where she ends it with, and this is why I'm leaving the Democratic Party. Live on Air has announced that she is leaving the Dems and going independent, which is interesting because that's the exact same playbook she made from when she left independent and moved to the Dems. Remember citing that Bernie Sanders and his campaign are racist. So then she joins Biden's campaign. But yes, this is a quote. Oh yeah, well, if you want to go back to that, because I think that was the quote exact.
All right.
There. Yeah, a little bit up, a little bit. Yeah, she says, quote, "There's actually little that the Senate Minority Leader can say, and the 10 Democrats that voted with the Republicans can say to appease somebody like me," end quote. She told panelists on her show The Weekend. And then she goes on to say, "I'm about to change my registration to independent first and foremost," she told her shocked panelists. So yeah, live on air, she says she is leaving the Dem Party. And then I seen that, Dems of a particular color are are making grand pronouncements that Chuck Schumer has ran his course, and it is time for him to step down. But Chuck is back now. Created armed himself with Mika and Joe.
Yeah.
And
all of these histrionics to defend nothing. There's nothing. Simone Sanders ain't done nothing. Nothing. I think the most noteworthy thing she has done has been to show her athletic prowess at that rally. Remember? That is the most noteworthy thing. I'm sorry. And I say this, as a former power lifter. I saw that child launch herself from a 2-step and then launched herself to, I'm like, that's some athleticism right there. That is the most noteworthy thing Simone Sanders has done. Please don't get all discombobulated about this woman and her pronouncements. We don't need her. Thank God. Please stay an independent. Don't tell people you're becoming a leftist, because we know that's not going to happen. But this is the state of the Democratic Party and all of their surrogate supporters. You got Bernie Sanders out here sheep herding for the Democratic Party again, but now it is more obvious, right? Because what purpose does this man have for having rallies now? What is he? Is he telling people? Is he organizing people to for mass demonstration again? No. Is he educating people on the illegality of these EOs? Is he keeping people up to date on the judge's orders that are coming out, halting a lot of these because we can't keep up with these judges' orders that are coming out because they keep doing crazy stuff, and that's the whole point. Is Bernie Sanders doing anything useful with these rallies right now? No, other than to calm people down and to tell them, to get them ready for 2028 when he comes back and tells them you have to vote for the Democratic candidate again, because he's going to endorse the next Democratic candidate. That's so you got that going on. Bernie Sanders, the placater, and you got Simone Sanders coming out doing her shtick again. I'm leaving this because I'm disappointed. She's just chasing the bag. She's going where her money is. That's it. That is all.
Well, also, what an interesting time to be disappointed in the Democratic Party.
How come you weren't disappointed during the whole genocide, heifer?
Well, also Chuck Schumer has been who Chuck Schumer has always been.
The whole time.
Yeah, because even for Chuck and Joe Scarborough to talk about, their fond memories of days on the Senate floor when they were arguing back and forth, the discussion that they were having was like, you get it. This is what we do,
Right, right. There's an agreement here that they've broken.
Yeah, like, why are they mad? Like, this is what we do. We know we shut down the government, but Trump is saying that he, it might not come back. So I'm curious because you're saying 2028. It's really 2026.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
We only got a couple months.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Campaign mode, which is why they're not actively doing anything, because they're going to use this down the line in the campaign.
That's right. That's right. You're right. You're right.
The government shutdown so Trump can take over the government. But if Trump could easily take over the government via a government shutdown, then what is the illusion of elections then? Because can't he just stop that? Like, so it's one or the other. And so that's why, to me, I think it's very interesting that he went on Joe Scarborough to say specifically, because he's very aware that the people are actually calling for them to do something. Because he said it. He's saying, well, I understand that they want me to do something, but
I'm not gonna.
You have to pick and choose your battles and when to fight your fight and all of this. And it reminds me of the way that network talks about their own voter population, their own viewership. People really don't understand politics, and people they don't really watch the news, but they're watching you, Stephanie. They're watching you, Lawrence, right?
Right.
So it's really interesting that this is the kind of narrative that they take. So to see Simone do that so abruptly, and might I add, have not seen Simone since. And that was over the weekend.
I mean, give it a week and we should start to worry.
Well, this is their slot, the 7:00 slot. They were set to take over for. So now it has just been Michael Steele yesterday and Monday.
And I got opinions
listen,
but,
I have a rant for that Lincoln Project nigga too. But
mother.
My mother is telling me that they're not set to start yet. So they've been just having one of them come on at the 7:00 and not all three. And I was like,
That's the tail end. Okay.
But Simone,
we'll see.
Okay.
But
can't do it either.
But look at this situation with this so-called with the so-called opposition party, with the spokespeople for the so-called opposition party now, right? That there's this show, and there's a whole conversation about how Joy Reid was treated and how she got her show from Melissa Harris Perry being fired and all of that. And it's like, none of these people are clean. First of all, they're all complicit in this, cutting other folks off at the knees, this whole dog eat dog game that they've got going on. They're all complicit in it. They're all fine with it. They don't care about who gets axed so they can get theirs. There's no solidarity among any of these people in these networks. I'm here to tell you that they are not friends like that.
No, not when you get multi-million-dollar checks a year.
Shoot, Joy Reid didn't give a damn about what happened to Melissa Harris Perry.
Yeah, Rachel Maddow makes almost $20 million a year.
She don't give a damn about what happens to anybody else on that damn.
Before they fired, what is Alice? Is it Alice Wayne?
Allie Wayne. Allie Wayne. Yep.
So no, not Allie Wayne. Alex.
What was his name?
What is her? No, the lady, because they had her replaced because so when Biden came into office,
it was so many of them.
Rachel Maddow now has a podcast, so Rachel would only do Monday nights, and the rest of the week was Alex. And then they asked Alice Wagner. Thank you.
I don't remember that one.
Alice
Wagner.
There was
so damn many.
Alex used to have a show when Ed Schultz had a show. Alice used to come on because you remember they had their little progressive sect during the Obama era when they had all the colors. They had their East and South Asians. They had their blacks. We had Ed Schultz.
Yeah, I only watched Schultz. I didn't watch anybody else.
Yeah, well, she used to come on, I think, at the 6 o'clock hour.
Okay,
Or was
yeah,
that
I was never
it was
home.
at 4
on time.
o'clock. Anyway, Biden
Mhm.
comes back into office. They bring all the progressives back because you remember they got rid of them and hired Fox News people. But then, so they bring the progressives back, and it was Alex Wagner doing that show. But now that they've asked Alex alongside
Oh,
Joy,
okay.
Rachel is there 5 days a week now.
Oh, Jesus.
So we are back with Rachel. So it's been this whole. I mean, corporations are corporations. Corporations are corporations.
Mhm.
and you know, MSNBC and these mainstream media outlets are networks.
Mhm.
And MSNBC is run by NBC Universal, the same way Bravo is, the same way E! News is, right? So all of this is
Mhm.
entertainment in a sort, right?
That's right.
So it's not real news.
Mhm.
Not in the sense that when I say that it's entertainment of sorts, is that it's manufactured in a particular kind of way. There's a reason why there's a punditry in all of it, right? It's because that comes out of talk radio. I talked about the Telecommunications Act and how that squeezed a kind of particular. I mean, so we see it from Fox News to MSNBC, that this is the model of how they're going to engage, where they just have all these people come and have this conversation, but a particular kind of people who they deem are the experts. And there's some kind of opposition to that. So they'll have Bari Weiss come on for years. And now they go, oh my God, Bari Weiss is a fascist. Wow.
It was like, but she was a fascist 5 years ago.
Yeah, and they had her coming on to talk about anti-Semitism, right? So all of the nonsense that Bari Weiss was doing, the same thing with Michael Steele and that Lincoln Project.
Yep.
And the Lincoln Project. Michael Steele is who Michael Steele has always been. Michael Steele is no friend to anyone, least of all a progressive. And he is getting paid out the ass from the Lincoln Project. You know how much money the Lincoln Project has accumulated from the 2024, that campaign?
People don't know what the hell the Lincoln Project is. Let me show you. Come on,
It's a bipartisan project. Yeah, influencers.
There's your Lincoln Project. A leading pro-democracy organization in the United States dedicated to the preservation, protection, and defense of democracy. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
It's a bipartisan initiative, and that's all that matters. That the Republicans can come together to stop Trump.
Just ridiculous. And remember, for folks who, well, not remember, for people who do not know, who don't pay close attention to politics, and who might be a little bit young and might not know who Michael Steele is, you're going to have to look him up. You just please look him up.
The former chair of the RNC.
Of the Republican National
the Democratic
Committee.
Party darling.
Yes. This man is, oh, y'all gonna have to read, because we can't do political education, popular education all the time, talking about all the important issues and explaining every little detail to you all at the same time, because it's too much. It is too much.
Yeah.
Y'all are gonna have to take some responsibility for finding out, for doing your own homework.
That's true.
You really are gonna have to.
But also, I think to the point of, even if we're going to discuss the use of like networks like MSNBC, CNN, and things like that, who are supposed to be like in opposition of the Fox, right? Because the Fox is so extreme, as if these aren't extreme. But I guess, again, it's that kind of play on the sort of dichotomy of good versus bad, lesser evil, etc., right? So the MSNBC and CNN get to position itself in a particular way. But Michael Steele, just like Nicole Wallace, has her own show daily on MSNBC. This is the woman who worked under the Bush administration, both terms, right? So she is now the darling of the Democratic Party. And it's really because they just don't like Trump.
Right.
And that's really all it takes. So there's no real investigation, because all of these, even this kind of revamping of Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney never actually had to respond to that she is opposed to abortions.
Nope.
She is opposed to abortions.
Mm-hmm. Nobody ever asked her.
Right. But how she was able to talk about it on the Grand Tour with Kamala Harris was about women's rights.
Mm-hmm.
And she never actually had to address abortion.
Yep.
Because she's in opposition to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the party's line. It's also the Dem Party's line if you ask Nancy Pelosi. But but the point is that they're able, through bipartisanship and the use of the word, they're able to keep moving people rightward.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they get to say we're anti-Trump. So the austerity policies were fine with Simone, just like they were fine with Michael, and they're fine with Nicole.
Yep.
That was fine. The genocide was fine with Simone, and it was fine with, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When they cut snap. Simone
Yep.
didn't leave.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it's always, so the grandstanding or the opposition of the opposition party that aligns with this budget to avoid a shutdown, because this is the real strategy here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, that's where we're at. So it's not even like a fixation on Democrats are just as bad. It is it's an objective reality. It is an objective truth that they play in tandem. They play in tandem.
Mm-hmm.
How does Joe Scarborough get to be on MSNBC?
That,
Joe Scarborough's political record.
that man has never not been a Republican.
He has never not been a bigot.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And people, like I said, there's a generational divide here. People don't know who Mika Brzezinski is. That name Brzezinski doesn't have any meaning to a lot of people because they're too young and they don't know history.
Yeah. Yeah, her daddy.
But Mika Brzezinski's daddy was the fucking devil. All right. And she's proud of him and his work. She ain't never repudiated anything that man did and said. So these are the people who are the spokespeople for the so-called opposition party to the psychos, to the GOP, right? To the so-called fascists, the people who were a part of that alleged fascist party, which should let you know that they're all fascists. They all love a little bit of fascism. They all love corporate dictatorship.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalist dictatorship, because they're all paid by capitalist dictatorship. So, listen, this whole thing is, it's interesting to watch it all play out. And it's very interesting to watch the pundits like Scarborough and Brzezinski and all of these other folks on MSNBC and CNN. It's interesting to watch them kind of not know how to handle reporting on this because they've never had to report on this much chaos from the administration. Usually, the kind of repression that comes from the administration, any administration, all of them, very smooth, very well planned out. It's very, very orderly. But this is different for a lot of these talking heads. So they're a little bit nervous because they recognize that Trump is when he says he's going to come after you, he will. So they don't want to lose their jobs. But at the same time, they're like, I don't want to mess this opportunity up. And they're not going to actually provide any kind of guidance to people to actually look at the entire system. It's always going to be Trump. It's not going to be the entire system,
right.
because the system, they like the system. They just don't like him.
Right.
That's
right.
it. That's all there is.
The reporting on him is not even, that is their bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the numbers in the 2016 campaign, I mean, arguably, I mean, you could really make the argument that it is the Democrats that pushed Trump into the position that he did, primarily through MSNBC, yes, but mainstream media, right?
Yep.
Because the objective was to make him look like a bumbling fool, right? That this is not a man that you want handing the button to nuclear weapons and things like that, right? And they gave that man so much free press.
Yep.
Thousands of hours of free press. Chris Matthews alone. Chris Matthews did a whole documentary.
Yep.
Special around this man, his family. So one can actually argue. I mean, he never actually had to pay for any of the campaigning. They campaigned for him.
That's right.
Because that whole horrible shit backfired.
And
they
remember,
underestimated his reach.
Yeah.
And they underestimated the Tea Party's actual organizing that was happening the entire time.
That's right.
Because what the Democrats have been able to do was just say, these people are stupid. These people are fools. Look at these foolish people. Right? And these people were organized because they could be idiots and they could be fools, but they were organized idiots.
That's right.
And they were organized fools.
That's right.
And that's the difference. They were not prepared for 2016 any more than they were prepared for right now because they thought they had that shit in the bag. You know, all it took was Beyonce, a little Eminem.
Yep. And
we getting the people to the polls. They knew they had that shit in the bag. But I don't think there's any real sort of I don't think they feel a way about having to report on Trump because if they, again, Rachel's back. Rachel was doing 1 day a week. Rachel's doing 5 days now. Rachel is back. So this is all money. This is viewing and ratings, especially when it's fear mongering, right? When they get to report on the chaos and say, oh my God, look what he's doing next. Oh my God. And then you have people, especially when you look at the age demographic of the people who watch these channels, it is our elders. And oftentimes, like in the case of my mother, they should just be playing. They just be on because TV just be on. But that doesn't mean that they're not internalizing or taking in or hearing because that's how propaganda works.
Yep. It's insidious. The insidiousness of it. You don't have to be actively engaged in because it's everywhere all around you. It's in everything. It's in every commercial. It's in every song played on the radio. It's in your soap operas. It's in your favorite nighttime TV shows. It's in all of the news that you watch. You don't have to always be paying attention. I guarantee you've picked up a lot of those liberal ideas. And the thing is that, you know, these folks have been so incredibly consistent in understanding that their only job is to just keep up the facade. And I don't believe that these people don't know that they're lying. They know they're lying and they're fine with it. So when we talk about who is complicit in this system, we cannot ever leave out the fact that the media is a key linchpin in propping up this system and keeping regular folks in a position where they prop up this system, not understanding that you are, because you are so deeply propagandized by it. I mean, we forget because we have such short memories that WikiLeaks exposed that the Clinton campaign's strategy, you want to talk about Chuck Schumer talking about a strategy. You have to have a strategy. You can't just do something. Well, the Hillary Clinton campaign strategy was to highlight Trump in the media. This was it was called the Pied Piper strategy, where yes, they told the media, the corporate media outlets to give Trump all this coverage to show the American people how much of like Erica said, how much of a bumbling idiot he was. And they would go so far as to preempt Bernie Sanders rallies that he was holding in college football stadiums that were full. And I literally watched this happen. This was on CNN. Bernie Sanders rally was down in the picture-in-picture down in the bottom right-hand corner of CNN, and they cut away from Bernie's rally and put his rally down in the little picture-in-picture screen, and then what they cut away to was Trump arriving in his personal jet to some campaign rally. And that was the news segment that they talked about Trump, that they cut away from Bernie Sanders' rally from. CNN, at the direction of the Clinton campaign. And that was just 2016, y'all. And there's an entire generation of folks who are watching MSNBC, watching these folks on CNN who did this, who helped prop up Trump, and do not realize that they're, believing the people who literally helped give them the man that they're told is a fascist.
Yeah, well, Ali Wayne is a guest pundit now.
Mm.
On MSNBC.
The whole incestuous relationship.
That campaign for Clinton. You see what I'm saying? And so, yeah, and to the point of the short memories, I do think that is the emphasis on political education and things like that. Because so my issue with TikTok, and social media in general, right? Listen, that is my personal issue. That is not my organizational issue. Like, I understand tactically and all that. I personally think it's a bullshit. But I would appease I would appease a strategy that makes sense for our objective. But I'm not the one to do it. But primarily because I think when we have these town hall conversations, right? And most recently we had one on African mothers on the front line, or African women on the front line, and what are we doing around that? And in that conversation, people were talking about that we need to kind of condense this information and make it, digestible for the children. And my thinking is always, I think that's the issue, that we have began to condense the issue, that we don't even push our people to think beyond a 2-minute clip, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And how much are you actually retaining? Right? Because if it is that you can only retain something for 2 minutes at a time, then what historical memory are you developing? So for me, it's always, I feel like we are creating, or we're conceding to the way that they have allowed us to learn. Right? And we're not really pushing back against it. Like, to say, people are not reading. So what we see, so we give up reading?
Right. It's like, you're not reading? Right. And my response to that is, you're not reading? Oh, great. So read this.
Right.
And we'll talk about it next week.
Right. Right. So for me, it's always like, who are we being led by the people that we know are not developed? Or are we trying to lead them in a particular direction for that development?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's always that the children don't understand this, or the children can only learn this way, or the people aren't reading, and so then it becomes, so then what are we doing?
Right.
Then what are we doing?
and that response, when people say that, can you make this information more digestible to children? My response is, none of y'all ain't children. All of y'all in here are adults. Now, if you want to take this information and explain it to your children, then you need to understand it thoroughly, so you can explain it to your children. Now, we do not yet have a children's program, but we working on that joint. But because see, as organizers, we are able, and I think it does require a level of maturity to do what Erica said before, that you assess what you're doing, you assess your work, and you have to be honest about what is being successful. Is this effort producing the kind of consciousness raising, the kind of input, the kind of engagement that you were looking for? Are your objectives being met? And if that's not happening, you have to be honest about your own work and say, okay, that's not working. That's not really working out well. What can I do differently? How do we pivot and to make this more? You have to take your ego out of that, and that's a problem that I see with some organizers. That can be difficult because nobody wants to admit that something that they thought of, a great idea that they had might not be as successful as they hoped it would be. That can be kind of difficult, but you can't take this stuff personally. This is not, if you're in this not for yourself, it is easier to take yourself out of the center of it all. This is not Jackie Lukman organizing. This is not my thing. This is liberation for our people. So if I come up with an idea that doesn't work out, I have to be the one to say, all right, this didn't work out right. How do we, and I have to be responsible and mature and say, you all help me get this right. What can we do better? What can we do? Because we can't be organizing by ourselves, right? So this is a level of maturity is required to be able to look at your work and say, this was not as successful as I thought it would be, or I didn't plan this as well as I should have, or I didn't think about that, I didn't consider that, and be able to move in a different direction. That you have to be able to do that. And ego keeps a lot of people from being able to do that. But we cannot be in this on one end, as Erica is saying, being led by people who really aren't interested in putting in the effort to do the work. They want to be spoon-fed. We cannot spoon-feed people. We can't spoon-feed all people, right? But then on the other hand, we also can't be, we can't center ourselves in this work and feel like our way is the only way to do things. The ideas we come to this work with are the only things that are going to work. Some things will, some things won't. Mm-hmm. It is all trial and error. It is all just like the scientific process. And you try one method, you document, you document, you observe. Yep, you observe and you document the results. And you act from there, and it's iterative, and you keep going, and that is not happening. People are not seeing that reflected in corporate media, anything that is talked about in corporate media, because they don't want you to understand organizing. They had to demonize the Tea Party as a bunch of idiots because they didn't want you to understand how they gained the power they did. But we talked about it all the time because they were organized. They organized in places that folks on the left never want to go because of their personal antagonisms against certain people of faith. How did the Tea Party become so powerful? They organized in churches. It wasn't necessarily because they had all this Republican money. It was because they went to the community where they knew they needed to get their support from. They went to the churches.
Yeah.
I didn't know if y'all needed a break. I was back there reading and politically educated about the anti-surveillance meeting at the town hall that's been postponed. But Oh, you didn't think I was reading? Yeah, it's postponed, but I don't know when the new date is. But yeah,
the new date is what, in Nashville? You talking about?
Huh?
You talking about Nashville?
What is happening right now?
Because what are you talking about?
I was looking at the BAP website.
The new date is on the 29th in Nashville, same spot.
Okay, there it is. Yeah,
you talking about Nashville? I know my word.
I can't read it.
You on the phone,
doctor. I'm working back here. All right, so we're gonna take a quick break and then we're gonna come back with some more right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go.
She loves me now. Ooh, she loves me now. She loves me now. Whoa, she loves me now.
Okay. Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show every day, all day, as we give you that boom bap breakfast. And yes, Please make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe. If you are new to the channel, go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare, and yes, donate at blkliberationmedia.org. We are demonetized, so that will help keep this train on track. All right, with that said, let's give a artist spotlight to the man them call Coca T. Yes. But let's not get it twisted. His mama named him Coven George Scott. He is a reggae singer and songwriter coming straight out of Rocky Point, Jamaica in the year of 1959. He was big from the 1980s until just kept dropping stuff. He started off at the age of 14, dropped a couple songs, but then he got down with some sound systems, got out there more, and then he came out with some bangers, Rockin' Dolly and I Lost My Sonia. Then he started messing with other artists that was doing their things like Shabba Ranks, and he came out with a song called Rikers Island, where he was trying to let other immigrants coming in, yo, don't be acting up because you're going to be over there in Rikers Island. So conscious in certain ways and always sang a good love song in background for people. He also had his Roaring Lions record label, which put out different artists like Buju Banton, Capleton, Cutty Ranks, Sizzla. So, and also himself. So big up to him. He has over 40 albums, a bunch of hard tunes. He just had cardiac arrest March 11th, 2025, and he transcended at the age of 65. So big up to Coco T. All right, with that said, let's get back to it right here on the Remix Morning Show.
Oh, mama. Whoa, papa. You should have seen your little son. The first time the youth come on New York.
Yes.
I was about to say, you know, my soul needs a kind of throwback bashment of 90s reggae. I just need that for my soul. But then you said he died. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, another one. Boy,
Dang.
It's the musicians is falling like leaves in autumn. It's crazy. So, yeah.
Said be electricians. Take up a new field.
That's what I'm saying.
Get us out of here.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a little weird for the entertainers these days.
I mean, you're giving so much of yourself to people all your life, like getting on these stages and pouring. Even if you're going through some stuff, you still got to perform. And it's a lot. So big up to all these musicians pouring their soul, bearing their soul. All right, that's it. I catch you later.
Well, let's see. What else we got going on here in the news?
Well, we could possibly talk about the things that they are not speaking about.
Yeah, well, real quick, keeps happening. A judge finds that Elon Musk and Doge's shutdown of USAID was likely unconstitutional. And this is, again, we have to always say this is not a defense of USAID. It's not, because USAID is highly problematic. If you remember, we have talked about this several times before. I can't remember the name of the person who said it, but basically admitted a former, I think, Bush administration official who said that NED and USAID do in public what the CIA used to do in secret. But yeah. So yeah, that's USAID. We understand that aid is used to back opposition groups to usually progressive leaders who the U.S. doesn't like. Yes, some of the aid helps people, but most of it, no. All right. So having said that, a federal judge on Tuesday found that Elon Musk and the White House's Department of Government Efficiency likely violated the Constitution when they unilaterally acted to shut down the U.S. Agency for International Development. U.S. District Judge Theodore Chuang ruled in favor of a group of more than 24 unnamed current and former USAID employees and contractors who had challenged the efforts to shutter USAID, which were mounted by Doge and Musk, a senior White House advisor who President Trump has said is the leader of the task force. Chuang granted in part their request for a preliminary injunction and said in a 68-page decision that Doge and Musk likely violated the Constitution's appointments clause and separation of powers. He ordered Musk and task force employees to reinstate access to email, payment, and other electronic systems to all current USAID employees and personal services contractors. The judge also prevented Doge and Musk from taking any action relating to the shutdown of USAID, including placing employees on administrative leave, firing USAID workers, closing buildings, bureaus, or offices, and deleting the contents of its websites or collections. Doge and Musk are prohibited under the judge's order from taking any other actions relating to USAID without the express authorization of an agency official with legal authority to take the action. The Trump administration is likely to appeal the decisions to deny plaintiffs' appointments clause claims solely on the basis that on paper, Musk has no formal legal authority relating to the decisions at issue. Let me read that again. Oh boy. To deny plaintiffs' appointments clause claim solely on the basis that on paper, Musk has no formal legal authority relating to the decisions at issue, even if he is actually exercising significant authority on governmental matters, would open the door to an end run around the appointments clause, Chuang wrote. He continued, if a president could escape appointments clause scrutiny by having advisors go beyond the traditional role of White House advisors who communicate the president's priority to agency heads and instead exercise significant authority through the federal government so as to bypass duly appointed officers, the appointments clause would be reduced to nothing more than a technical formality. Ooh, boy. So basically, this is why he ruled on not just the appointments clause, but on the other violation also. Norm Eisen, executive chair of the State Democracy Defenders Fund. I ain't never heard of that, whatever that is. Okay. Which brought the case on behalf of the 26 USAID employees and contractors, said the ruling is an important victory against Musk and Doge. He said they are performing surgery with a chainsaw instead of a scalpel. What about maybe the surgery wasn't needed anyway? Anyway, harming not just the people USAID serves, but also the majority of Americans who count on the stability of our government, he said in a statement. This case is a milestone in pushing back on Musk and Doge's illegality. Okay, let me stop because that just, woo. This is the problem with the way liberals respond to everything that these people are doing. It's like the response is not, none of this needs to be done. This is not needed. He is lying. All of this is a lie. This is why it's a lie. They're lying. They're liars. They're stealing your money. They're lying. No, the response has been, well, this is not how the surgery should be done. We agree that maybe surgery is needed, but we don't need to do surgery with a chainsaw. And that is not the right answer. Now, the judge's decision is fine. It's great. And it may be the precedent that is needed to rule that everything else Trump is doing is unconstitutional. Because I think, I may be wrong, and you all correct me, this might be the first ruling where the judge has specifically said that Doge is acting in violation of the Constitution because Musk has no authority to do any of this. I think this may be the first ruling where a judge has specifically said this is unconstitutional. I could be wrong. And that may be a big deal because now this sets a legal precedent. But again, the legal precedent already existed in the form of the Constitution and all of these so-called laws, and they didn't give a shit. And these rulings are coming, being published by these judges. These judges are making these rulings, halting these executive orders, and they are not stopping anything. So now what do we do? Now where are we? What does this mean? And We can't rely on the people who are even suing to stop these orders to really get their own messaging right, because it's not that the way the surgery is performed is wrong. It's not that the surgery is being performed with a chainsaw instead of the scalpel. It's that a bus driver is in the goddamn operating room performing the fucking surgery that doesn't need to be.
No shade to bus drivers.
No shade to bus drivers, because my father-in-law was a bus driver. My husband was a truck driver. I love my daddy was a bus driver. No shade to bus drivers, but they all knew they weren't supposed to be performing nobody's goddamn surgeries.
So back to MSNBC. What is this? Chris Axe. He had someone come on to kind of break down what was occurring, and he asked directly, in the event that Trump ignores the courts, what is the plan? And this man said, well, this would just throw us into a constitutional crisis. And, this is just in my 12, my years of working here, I can't tell you one president that has ever done this before. I don't think in the history of all U.S. presidents, have we ever had someone violate the Constitution in such a way. So this is an unforeseen constitutional crisis. And I say this to say that man never answered that question. That man never, because there is no plan.
That's right.
They have no plan. They have no plan. But except to get your ass back to the polls. And this is what I'm saying about the fear of the government shutdown. How is it that you can make the argument that you passed the budget so that the government wouldn't shut down, so that Trump and Musk won't be able to do whatever the fuck they want, while watching Trump and Musk doing whatever the fuck they want? They're doing whatever the fuck they want. There is no legitimate opposition to the opposition party. This is where they're starting to play on the three branches of governments and processes in the right way to do things. Why these niggas is just railroading every single process. And you don't look better. And I don't know if that's what the attempt is, to look more diplomatic, to look more constitutional, but you don't. You look weak. You look like you don't have a plan, and you look like you're letting us all get fucked.
Yep.
That's what you look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be on Joe Scarborough to say, you don't believe what your eyes are seeing, we did this for you. Do the math. I don't think they understand the math, Joe. Because we're idiots. And truthfully, I don't understand the math, because that math don't make no sense. Chuck Schumer math don't make no sense.
No, Nancy Pelosi math don't make no sense.
Like, that conclusion made any more sense than where we are now. And I think that there is an avoidance of where we are now. Because no one can answer.
Yep.
What if? Because the man already been impeached 2 times.
Right.
He already was found guilty in New York State.
And can't nobody do nothing with him. Can't nobody do nothing with him. And look, for folks who
they don't want to.
Exactly. Thank you. It's not that they can't.
Always been terrified to set the precedent.
Yep.
That's why they do not, like in 2010 when they had the majority. And they would not fight for DACA, and they would not fight for any of those things because they were scared that they would lose in the primaries, and they lost anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
They lost anyway. They lost every goddamn seat to the Tea Party. Every goddamn seat.
Why?
They won't arrest this man. They won't seat this man. They won't do anything that will set a precedent. They won't even do shit like what is it when they oh my God, what is that word? What they are doing for hours? Filibuster.
Oh yeah. Oh no, they're not gonna do that.
They won't even filibuster, Jackie, because they don't want. Because in the event that they do it, they're scared that the Republicans will turn around years later and do it.
Because they know they will.
This is how they maneuver. They are not doing anything. They're not even playing dead.
Nope.
No, they are actively in your face doing nothing. They
right, and making excuses to your face why they're not doing nothing and why you are wrong for demanding that they do something. That is exactly, they are sitting there. That man just got on Joe Scarborough talking about, I know the American people want us to do something, but that's what he just said. He just told you, shut the hell up. We ain't doing shit. We're going to keep collecting these paychecks. Shut up. And just show up in 2 years and vote to get more Democrats into that. That's all. That's what this is. But you know, for folks who when we talk about things like laws and the Constitution and it's not that we believe in them. We are raising the contradictions of the existence and the alleged belief in these things. These people have talked about the Constitution. Now I'm talking about conservatives. These people have talked about the Constitution, the sanctity of the Constitution, this, our constitutional rights, this, that, and the third, Constitution, motherfucking Constitution. And now the GOP is like, fuck the Constitution. I know the Constitution says that we cannot do these things, but fuck that Constitution. And that needs to be raised. That needs to be raised, that the very people who have been bullying folks legislatively based on the primacy and the, what did they call it? The literal reading of the Constitution, just like they do the Bible, the fundamentalist interpretation, what originalists, that's what they call themselves, the constitutional originalists. This was the excuse that Trump used when he appointed what's her name, Amy Coney Barrett.
Right, I was going to say they sat a bunch of them on there. Well, her and the Toucher,
the Toucher Kavanaugh. Right. This was his reasoning for appointing them to the Constitution, because they're constitutional originalists. Right? Because they interpret the sacred Constitution exactly as it's written, as the way the founding fathers intended. Well, if you had so much respect for what the founding fathers said, how come y'all are the very people who are now wiping your asses with the Constitution? That needs to be raised. And then on the other side of it, the Democrats go the other. That the Constitution provides protections for blah 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 blah. But what are they doing to defend the Constitution? Nothing. So raising the issue of the Constitution being violated is not our defense of the Constitution. It is raising the contradictions that the very people who have been using that document to legislate in ways that in fact deny our human rights and violate our human rights are now turning around and completely disregarding the very same document. That's why we're having that conversation, not because we believe in the Constitution or the laws.
Also, is it about a belief in the Constitution? Because even the language around that, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about writing around Elon Musk and Dodge about trimming the fat, right? And we know good and damn well this is not about a budget. This is not about overspending, right? None of this shit has to do with being true to the Constitution. It's about weaponizing these things to carry out white supremacy, to carry out their fascist ideology, to do and set themselves up as they please.
And I've been saying,
the Constitution works that way for both sides, right? That's why we have amendments, and not the Constitution has never been rewritten. It's never been rewritten. We just have
right there,
amendment after amendment after amendment, but we have never rewritten that Constitution. And some of the freaking amendments override the other amendments. But there has never been a process for the American people as it exists today to come together through referendum even and rewrite the Constitution. And you're seeing that develop in other nations, right? And that in 200 plus years has never been an option. But we get bullshit amendments like the 13th. Because we free, but are we?
That continues to uphold slavery as long as we're convicted felons. Then you wonder, why are so many Black people in prison compared to our population.
Because of that 13th Amendment, you know? And they beat us over the head with the civil rights movement and all the gains we made. But I say that to say that, again, this is about raising the contradiction, or it should be, right? This is not even about, listen, Lord knows I can't stand the USAID. Me and Nicaragua, we like this or that. Get them out of here. The OAS, get them out. Close the door, right? But also, I mean, this is even to the point of the Amnesty International, right? Or Human Rights Watch. All these institutions that we are very clear about, right? But if these are the institutions that we know people have value in, these liberals have value in, the masses have value in, and they're saying things like, yes, in fact, this is a genocide. And we've been saying that shit for 15, 18, 2 years. Like, we've been saying that since, for how long? And we have these legitimate institutions, after months and months and months, finally say, you know what, we saw the paperwork, you know, we sent some investigators out there. This, in fact, is a genocide. I mean, I feel like that with in terms of the Constitution, or even the USAID, if it is that we know that these are people who uphold these things, how you can't unsee the shit that the people that your institutions that you value are saying, right? You can't unsee that. Right. Because at that point, that becomes a choice. Right. That becomes a choice. You're no longer propagandized, love. You are actively making the decision to ignore everything. Yep. That is wild. That is wild, though, when the propagandists, which is why whenever I write an article about something that I think is pretty big, I almost always use imperialist sources. That's the point, because sometimes they will tell the truth. And you have to know what they're saying to know when they are. So if you are, consuming these, the material from these outlets, and down in paragraph 15, the New York Times, shitty as it is, shitty imperialist rag as it is, says in one article, yes, this is a genocide, and the United Nations needs to do something about Israel, and that. Why are you not paying attention to that? Why would we not bring that to your attention? Like, look, even the New York Times now is admitting that this is a genocide. What the hell is wrong with the rest of y'all? Probably three retractions later, and not before. True. Yeah. And not before right. The next day it's going to be right. That's why you got to catch them. That's why you got to catch them when they do it. Right, because they don't have the supporting opinion piece that, this is just a misunderstanding of political religious views or some bullshit. But no, but it's not to legitimize these institutions. I think at least we've been clear, like USAID, NED, like soft power institutions for the longest time have worked in tandem. I mean, how many, Ukraine in 2014, or Cuba in 2021, or the Maidan, well, it's a Maidan coup is Ukraine, but the Uyghurs, even with Voices of America, or so those outlets, for me personally, it's good riddance. It makes my fight a little less, but also, while we're watching the sort of the ending or consolidation or sort of deplatforming or deprioritizing of these institutions like USAID or Voices of America that we know are working in tandem with Empire because they are state-ran projects, it should not confuse us that as that's happening, as they're chipping away at soft power, they are upping the fucking ante. In reverse, when we look at Yemen and look at Somalia, right? They're upping the ante on overt military, right? Where we watch, and I think the Obama years and even through Biden, the use of soft power has been able to kind of let people, because we did a lot of work around what sanctions actually are and what they actually do, right? Because we would hear, because it became a big deal under Obama that there was not actually boots on the ground. We have drones now, they're using sanctions. So our families and our children are safer because they're not actively out there on the front lines in a war, right? And nobody actually thought through, well, what even is a sanction?
Right.
What are these drones doing? Until after he leaves and everybody's like, oh shit, that man killed how many people? With the how many people? A child? He killed a child? They bombed a hospital? Like, but these are things that come after the fact. But that was all done through soft power. And then, so we're seeing, because a lot of it has been sort of the decentralization of these institutions so that they can do these coups easier, so that they can do these things easier, right? Because people have come to understand with a military presence comes war. But they don't understand sometimes with an NGO comes war too. With an NGO comes destabilization of your whole goddamn country.
And Voice of America and US backed outlets. That they're the propaganda outlets for that. They're telling people in these countries who their enemies are, according to the U.S. And it's usually the last democratically elected progressive-ish leader that the U.S. doesn't want. So even though people in that, Voice of America is another victim of Trump's whatever. And folks are like, oh, Voice of America is gone. And I'm just like, thank God. Because I know our comrades in the AES, they're like, good. We do not need any more lies propagated amongst our people from the imperialists that we're trying to get the hell out of our countries. So we're in a very interesting time when things are being done that are beneficial in the fight against imperialism, but they're being done by someone who is an imperialist, who is continuing and advancing imperialism in a different way. So Trump is not undoing the imperialist order. He's trying his best to maintain it and strengthen it, just in a different way, with bombs all the time instead of the diplomacy, right? Because he's not good at that. He don't want to do that. He's not gonna have a nice conversation and politely politically threaten people. No, he's just gonna bomb people, and that's what he's doing.
Should we talk about Syria, Yemen?
Y'all need a break or y'all good?
Yeah, no, Syria, Yemen, what's going on?
Gaza.
Mm-hmm. And it's not, according to, it's not just, we're not limiting anything to Palestine. We've been talking about imperialism backed by the US affecting Libya, Syria, Sudan, the AES, Haiti, Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua. What I leave out, Erica?
Baltimore, DC,
Thank you.
New York.
Yeah. So we're our conversations are not limited to one country that is affected by. Just because we're talking about Palestine right now, because they are being bombed again right now, and Yemen right now, because it doesn't mean that you understand what I'm saying. Okay. That's
so is that a yay or a nay?
When we talk about the use of the use of times or like mainstream media outlets, one of the reasons why I always say it is worth getting a subscription for the New York Times is primarily for those archives. And when we talk about things like the lack of historical memory, you can trace the coup of Nkrumah through New York Times headlines. Okay. Yep. So yes, there is value in those things. Obviously, there's state propaganda, sure, right? But it is about how we use these things. It is sort of Leninist model. You use the withering away of the state, right? You use what you could use until you don't need to use it no more.
Yep.
And if it is that this New York Times article actually points in the direction that we need the folks to go to, that is only the baton. We got to carry it the rest of the damn way. We're holding that. So we determine the direction of that article. We determine how we use that article or how we use this evidence. And that is the process of the PE, not just for the people, but for the people producing it. How are you receiving the information that you're going to disseminate to the people? What does your research process look like that you're going to, or you just about to just tell people things that you think, your opinions on things? You're about to gather folks around, fill up a room to express your opinion. No. No. These are actually things that we look into.
Right.
For the purpose of being able to expose, this is what it does, this is how they're doing it, this is what we need to be doing. How do we get there?
Mm-hmm.
What's the collective approach?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do want to. So I don't know if folks know. Periodically on Sundays, I talk to Laith Marouf on Activist News Network. And one of the things that I do value about doing those interviews is it does keep me personally up to date with what's happening in the region. Mm-hmm. But my favorite part of those interviews is when I get to ask questions about Yemen. Because Yemen, I think in these, we now, 17, 18 months now? I think people keep saying 15 months, but that was in December. So we the time is still going. And I do think that it has been over the course of this time that Yemen has really shown us what it means to stand upright no matter what. Like, no matter what. And I do think it's a critical example in this moment as we're watching the chaos unfold and we're watching certain industries collapse that are going to have a drastic effect on our people. And we're watching the sort of cynicism of the moment, right? Where people are like, we're not going to make it out of this. It's over for us.
Right.
And y'all talking.
I'm just going to put my head down and
read another book. Like, right. And we're seeing Yemen like, shit, what's next? What else?
Right.
What else y'all got?
Mm-hmm. They're like, is that all?
Right. And I do think, there's an ideological and political kind of context to that. But I also do think that is a remarkable show of collective strength in this moment. Because it's not a suicide mission. Yemen said, when y'all stop the war, we stop the war.
Yep. Y'all
stop attacking Gaza, we stop attacking you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always thinking about that. What is that mindset? Y'all stop shooting at us, we stop shooting at y'all. How about that?
Right.
How about that? Mm-hmm. And we've seen that kind of play out in Ohio a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine that. PE. And I'm not saying that to say that they don't have any, right? But I'm saying, imagine that kind of show of strength, collective show of strength, with a political objective. Right? Because it obviously we need self-defense.
Right.
But I do know our elders also told us, what is a man with a gun and no education?
Without political education.
You know what I'm saying? A soldier with a gun and no education.
Potential war criminal.
You eventually. So, we do have to be thinking through and thinking about those kind of things. But even in seeing what Yemen is, what is occurring with Yemen and the amount of bombs and drones and attacks on Yemen in this U.S.-Israeli strike against them is the result of Yemen saying that they will continue to defend Palestine and they will continue to defend Gaza. Mm-hmm. And not just Gaza. I mean, West Bank. You keep dropping bombs, we keep dropping bombs. And Yemen making the statement that they are targeting Israel, right? Directly. Like, this shit will land in Tel Aviv. It's going to land in Tel Aviv. And the strike started, obviously. But as that's happening, the U.S. and Israel are, and I say U.S.-Israel, right? Because I think we have conditioned ourselves to keep saying that this is Israel, but where's Israel getting these weapons from, y'all?
Thank you.
Arming Israel.
They're not doing it by themselves.
Listen, the day, and I'm not going to say we, the day the U.S. stops arming Israel, that shit collapses. There is no war. It's over. It's over. So this is a U.S.-Israel attack, not just on Yemen, But at the same time, the borders of Lebanon, at the same time, the massacres in Syria.
Say it again.
I got a word for y'all.
Woo.
Liberal leftists out here. And now we see 400 dead in a matter of 24 to 48 hours in Gaza. Because of an alleged lifting or ending of a ceasefire that never truly was actually engaged in any good faith measure on the behalf of the Israelis, right? Because we know that hundreds of people were still murdered in the 2 months of the ceasefire still. Which is why when this happened, there was no illusion or disillusion from many of us who had criticisms around the ending of this in terms of how Biden administration handled this. It was not in any way to say like, oh, look, Trump is doing it better. It was to say that Trump was able to alleviate, even momentarily. But this is not up to the U.S. to end this war any more than it's up to us to force the U.S. to end this war. The resistance will end this war. And our role is to support the resistance. And if that looks like taking to the streets every day and antagonizing your congressman, I mean, it worked for Chris Van Hollen. Shout out to Howard County. Shout out to they was outside, like Chris Van Hollen switched because his wife is a Zionist. But he ain't voting in that way. But again, our role is to support the resistance, because it is the resistance that is the only way that Gaza is going to be free. That's it. Ain't no policy gonna change that. Ain't no two-state solution gonna change that. Ain't no.
That's bullshit.
Yeah,
that's some bullshit.
The Palestinian Authority is not gonna change that. But yeah, so seeing what's happening there, I do think this is a moment where sober analysis is really truly needed around what's happening in Syria. I think, Jackie, since 2016 we've been Assadists?
Yeah.
Right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is from and can I just say that was my first kind of political attack, because and then right after, but that's why I was prepared for the Nicaragua shit.
Right. Yep.
And I say that I think Syria kind of trained me on how to respond to so many of these things. Genocide denier and all this other shit that people are attacking you with because you have a clear anti-imperialist position on the role of the Civil War. And this is not taking the side of Assad or dismissing the history, but it's understanding the actual critical role of what's being deemed a civil war and why it's unfolding and who are the players in that. And why are those the players in that? And ultimately, what is this going to pan out to? And when Assad was removed from power, the cheers, the celebrations that ensued from imams alike, same imams that are welcomed and invited to give grand speeches about Palestine and the importance of defending Palestine and Gaza, cheered for the fall of Assad. And this is not so much about Assad, but actually, what does the fall of Assad, what does that mean? So now we see the ATS that was formerly Al-Qaeda and connected to Al-Qaeda, and the man used to have a couple $1 million bounty on his head, but that's gone.
They took that joint down that day. Yeah. The day he was installed.
The Zelensky makeover. He got his little so he
they shaped that beard up.
They put some money in that man. He got Turkish citizenship. In fact, they all did. Everyone involved in the ATS got Turkish citizenship. They have the Uyghurs fighting alongside them. But again, this is all deemed as net positives. And in the first week or so, we're watching Israel creep in and creep in and creep in and creep in, take over this city, that city, this city. No opposition.
Yep.
They ousted the Palestinian resistance out of Syria, ousted them completely. No resistance to Israel at all. And then comes the massacres of hundreds of families. And these are sectarian massacres. These are religious, like these just so happen to be the Christian Syrians, right? Which is the MO of who? Al Qaeda, right? And you won't hear a word from the people celebrating that
That's
Assad,
right.
from the people celebrating that Assad is gone about these massacres. It has been days. It has been days. And even mentioning that these massacres are happening, you're hearing, well, that's because they're Assad remnants.
Right.
The children?
Right.
The babies
Right.
are Assad
The babies are Assad or remnants of it.
too. So, like, okay. And what does it mean to be Assad remnants? Assad is gone.
Right.
So they did. So the massacres are okay. Not okay for Gaza.
Right.
Okay for Syria.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're kind of seeing how people are positioning Gaza as some isolated thing. And now so for me, it does make it more tangible when people say, well, what about Sudan? Or what about the Congo, right? Because people have been able to kind of just carve Gaza out.
Right.
And we don't, not even the West Bank.
Right.
Not even Jerusalem. And like that, you know, this is happening all over. And they just carve Gaza out and make Gaza their talking point. So Yemen, Lebanon, didn't Trump say if Yemen attacks, he's gonna blame Iran? So they're putting Iran into this,
right? Now, and he thinks he's going to attack
into this. They're calling for East African nations to take in Palestinians. And the conversations are not moving forward and expanding this into a complete imperialist, like, understanding. Like, they don't. This is the mechanism here playing out. We're watching. All of these things are not disjointed.
Right.
And the longer this continues, it is becoming clearer and clearer. We had Salome on last week talk about the UAE. And the UAE is not only in Congo and Sudan. The UAE is also in Palestine. The UAE is also involved in the East African, warm waters that's developing. But we're not connecting that. The UAE is also in Haiti's business. Why? How you get all the way? You start with the UAE. How you get all the way in Haiti's business?
Right. Right.
But we're not connecting these struggles. So for me, it's like the longer that it's coming to a point where it's not on us to raise the contradictions, because the contradiction is there and you can't unsee it. So we're either going to smash the contradiction or move in tandem with it. And I think that people are beginning to become so comfortable in moving in tandem with the contradictions. It's like, oh, well, yeah, that's true. So anyway, like that, oh, yeah, then you got a point about that. And then just keep moving along with the contradiction.
Just keep it going along. Or they do the opposite. When you do make the connections and create an entire picture of the infrastructure of imperialism in all of this and tying it to our domestic struggles, then what people will do is they'll hyper focus and seize on one thing that you either say that they don't like or that you don't say that they want to hear. And it's like, you know what? If we're not going to have a sincere and serious conversation about this, then no, people aren't going to learn anything. If people are going to come to the conversation with this preconceived notion that you are here to hear what you want to hear, that's not the purpose of political education. That's not the purpose of education, period. That is not, we're not here to confirm anybody's biases. Even in me learning the things that I learned before I tell anybody else, my own biases have to be confronted. Things that I thought I knew, that I learned, oh, that's not how that went down. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that does happen with us when we learn these things. That we learn new things, and some of our understandings of some history gets challenged, and we have to struggle with that. And that's how we understand how these systems work. That is how we can explain them, because our own understandings of things are challenged. We have to work through our own misunderstandings and come to a right, revolutionary, anti-imperialist understanding of the truth. So it is always a constant struggle in explaining imperialism on a large scale when we have to focus on one particular issue that's happening right now. People mistake that as being, oh, that's the only thing you're focusing on. No, you're just hearing us talk about it today. It's one day in 365 days of organizing. And you're ticked off because I haven't said the word that you want to hear today. That's crazy to me. But it happens. But it happens all the time.
Yeah. Also, I don't know, Jack, if you want to pull up the Bat Baltimore Instagram, so we could just, and then the DC one, so we could just highlight some of the events, some of the things that are going on. There's a few statements that came out. BAP NYC wrote about the Delaney Center, which is an ICE center. So, you know, BAP NYC has their, and excuse me, BAP NYC and Jay Hey Cloud, / Peru, apparently. They are doing good analysis around what's happening. They also are kind of putting their feet to the ground around ICE and these actions in particular. So go check that out. You can find that on blackallianceforpeace.com. Are we in the story? Okay, story.
You know, I do not know how the hell Instagram works.
Exit out of that, then hit the X. All right, and then where's your page? Go up. That's the home page. Oh, this is some online shit. Yeah, just click BAP Baltimore. It'll show up.
Yeah, this is BAP Baltimore.
Oh, why is it on things that don't?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, either way, go to BAP _ Baltimore. You can find it. But I do want to just emphasize. There we go. Like we said, Grounded with Our Sisters is on the 28th. This Thursday. We have the Lessons on Counterinsurgency with the SJP, PYM, and All African People's Revolutionary Party. You have to register for that location. So there are a plethora of things that we are doing, but we're also mindful of what we're doing, right? Because these are not conversations for conversation's sake at all. Because I feel like I talk too much as is, and and you know, some days I just shut down at 7. I don't want to do no more talking. That's it.
Yep.
I can't utter another word. But so if I am going to speak, I'm going to speak with a purpose, which is a lot of what this is. But I want to emphasize that, you know, Jackie and I, you know, we come on here as journalists. Hey, Portia Williams. Right? As journalists. But we're just simply like giving our thoughts and somewhat of an analysis or some context on how we understand or have come to understand things that are happening in the news and things like that, or some of the headlines that we're plucking, or even things that we are engaging with actively. Like I said, I had that conversation earlier today just based on something that I've seen occurring and developing on social media, just around this kind of anti-reading shit or anti-teaching, or like, so it's just it's to me a little, you know, crazy. But I say that to say, y'all, I'm on here 2 hours, 1 day a week. Right? This is not the expansion of the conversations that occur. When we do these town halls, we do the town halls on a monthly basis that we're able to have direct conversations with the people, even if we don't agree, even in disagreement, we're able to struggle directly, and then we're able to move people forward towards a direction. Because that's the purpose of that. That's not the purpose of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think, in terms of how we are responded to in the chat, that y'all are expecting that here. And I'm trying to tell y'all want that? Come out.
Mm-hmm.
Come and engage. Come and talk directly. Our town halls are maybe 2 hours long. We can't get people out. And there are 3 people not stepping out of there till 4, because we know there's people there that want to raise their hand and ask a question, but they're quiet.
Mm-hmm.
What they do when the thing over, they corner you. They find you. They have a million questions. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? How do you think about this? What do you think we should do?
Mm-hmm.
And that way, I could respond directly. Oh, well,
Right.
you know, some of the things we're doing, and this is how we see it. Oh, were you able to sign up for this? Oh, sign up, put your name down. Let me get your information, because I know we're talking about this later. We want to do something with you later, perhaps. But that's that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not this. And that's why I say PE takes on different forms, right? You can do popular education different kind of ways, but you also have to be mindful of what it is. And I can't possibly do that in this minimum amount of time. Now, if I have my own show and I have my own slides, like people see that, do that on Communist. People have seen me do webinars and things like that, right? Because it allows for that. It allows for the deeper explanation. It allows for me to guide and walk you through, this is what imperialism is, and this is how it moves through the World Bank, and this is, you know, I can't condense that here, and it's not useful to you here.
Right.
What I do offer is different ways to think about a thing. If we're constantly being told Trump is bad, 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 well, how did we get to this point?
Mm-hmm.
Let's walk it back and bring it forward.
Yep.
Collectively on this space. But that's the most I can do for y'all here. Well, you know, I cannot. This is not an organizing space.
Right.
This is an informational space.
Yep. And that is what we do. I mean, to a certain degree, I go a little bit farther and provide a little bit more of that, you know, how did we get here on my show on Fridays.
Darker than blue.
I mean, yeah, darker than blue, and then the dark room. But even that, there's so much I could easily do 3 hours of that every Friday, and it still wouldn't be enough to cover everything. And even that is just information. There really isn't a way to engage with the amount of time that we need, all of the questions and all of the connections that need to be made. So I really appreciate Ricky saying that, because y'all come here looking for full organization, and this is a show.
Facts.
No, it's stressful. Because one, like, you know, everybody be like, don't get caught up in the chat, and it's true. Like, you don't want to get caught up in the chat, but you do want to be able to respond to certain things, because it's like, all right, well, we do need to have like a baseline understanding of what this is and isn't, right? Because some of that thing, you know, obviously everybody's not in good faith, but some people I do think are approaching us in good faith, but just really have expectations that can't come here. So when we say join the organization, or when we say come out to the event, because that is where the things that you're actually looking to receive, that's where they're fostered. That's where you can find them. That's where they're engaged.
That's right.
But,
so come on out. Come on out, y'all. And make sure y'all come.
Come outside. We ain't gonna jump you.
All right. And make sure y'all come back here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock for some more of the Remix Morning Show. Maybe we might carve out 10 minutes at the end of the show for y'all to answer some questions for the chat room, maybe.
Just 10 minutes?
Yeah, just a little bit. You can't give them too much, because they got to come out to the different meetings and stuff, you know. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in on this beautiful Wednesday, the Women's Wednesday, right here on the Remix Morning Show on Black Liberation Media. I am the Ear Doctor. That's Jackie Lucan. And that is Erica Keynes. And we are out of here, y'all. Peace. Yeah.
Engine of my life.